Hello class, we have made it. We are on our last content module. So what that means is the module that you currently see, module 6, is our last module that we're completing. After this, it's just your final exam. So please pay close attention to this video. Okay, so we are currently on module 6. Module 6 will close on October 9th. In module 6, you have a discussion board, a quiz, and then your assessment. Your assessment again covers juvenile corrections, and then we'll cover, I cannot speak, we'll cover juvenile corrections as well as juvenile and criminal courts. So you have your little quiz, then your assessment for the last two materials, and your discussion board for this module. And that is it. You are finished with this module. That's it. We're finished. I have thoroughly enjoyed working with you all, so I hope you've enjoyed the class as well. Once we finish module 6, we then go on to our final exam or our final presentation period. You actually will have an option. You can take the final exam, or you may submit a final presentation. Your final presentation is what I talked about early on in one of my other videos, and then I thought about it. My face-to-face class, they are actually doing it as their final exam. I decided for my online class to give you an option. So the final exam, 70 questions, true or false or multiple choice, if you would like, or you may complete a comparative juvenile justice PowerPoint presentation. And what that is, and I will post that, a list of countries that you may select, and you will research and do a comparative analysis of what their juvenile justice system looks like compared to ours. For example, what is the age of criminality, culpability in their country? What does a detention facility look like? What's the goal of detention, juvenile detention? Is it punishment? Is it rehabilitation? What are some of the prereqs that country looks at as far as charging someone as an adult? What is the process, if there is a process, as far as waivers and transfers? So basically, if you do that, the PowerPoint presentation, and people automatically say, well, how many slides? I will say you need a minimum of 15 slides, which I don't think that's that much. It's not a lot. And essentially where I get that from is, if you were to look at, if I had to give you a guideline, or what would that PowerPoint look like, if you were to take the subcategories that we've discussed throughout this semester, for example, the history of the juvenile justice system, when we first talked about that, then we talked about landmark cases and delinquency. We went on to talk about juveniles and law enforcement. Then we talked about the intake, classification, and assessment process, how we do that, juveniles in the criminal court, and then we're wrapping up with juvenile corrections. So if you were to take those subcategories and had 2 slides per category, you're there. And basically you're comparing, what does it look like, what does the history of juvenile justice look like in Canada, for example? What year did they bring about separate facilities from adults facilities? What was the law that made juvenile law, if this is applicable to that country, an issue or a statute? How did it come about when you talk about the historical context? What is the intake and classification system like in another country compared to ours? So that's what I'm looking for you to do, and you're able to select your country. I have a list of countries that I will post, and you're able to select your country, and that's what your PowerPoint presentation would be. So again, you have an option to select the final exam or the final presentation, not both, one or the other, whatever you feel, whatever, what is that saying, whatever's your fancy, or whatever that saying is, I don't know. Moving on, so that your final exam period per se is, and pay close attention to this please, October 9th through the 15th. October 9th through the 15th. And I say pay close attention because if you notice, the final exam period or final presentation, final assessment period ends on Sunday, October 15th. You will need to have everything submitted and turned in by 9 p.m. on Sunday, October 15th. To give me time to go through and grade and submit, get your final grades calculated. However, the module is open. When you click on the final exam folder, when you click on that folder, inside you will see the final exam, or you will see the submission link for your final presentation. So whichever one you choose to click on, but that's where you can, and that's open now, so you can definitely start working on that. Few things I wanted to highlight and go over. I know, like I said, sometimes in an online class you don't get the same in a face-to-face class. Supreme Court case with juveniles and the death penalty. I want you to make sure you look up. We briefly brushed over it, but to really highlight that, look up the juvenile case, or the case in the U.S. Supreme Court, where it's basically changed the way we look at juveniles as far as sentencing them with life without parole. We do know the only crime which one will be sentenced to life without parole, for juvenile, will be murder. However, there was a case that went to the U.S. Supreme Court several years back that actually changed how we view that and how that sentencing is actually applied. So I want you to look up that case, research that case. It'll take you 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but look that up to make sure you're aware of that. Other interesting cases are going on, not necessarily related exclusively to juvenile justice, but related to criminal justice. Today is the opening day for the U.S. Supreme Court session. We have a number of very important cases in our that the Supreme Court case will hear right now. One is dealing with the argument of religion in the First Amendment, where you have the baker who refused to bake a cake for a same-sex couple. He said he was willing to sell them a cake out of his baker that was already ready on the shelf, but that he would not bake a cake for them because it was against his religion. It's all the way in the Supreme Court now, so that I would definitely keep an eye on that. The next case that we're looking at, they have a case coming up with privacy in the age of technology, where a case law enforcement was able to convict a string of burglaries, charge and get conviction for a string of large burglaries that were going on by using cell phone towers to track individuals. That case is in the Supreme Court. Remember, legislating from their bench. When these Supreme Court cases go and the justices hear them and they make a ruling, it essentially becomes law. So that can definitely change the look on, potentially, depending on how it comes out, when we talk law enforcement and probable cause, and having to have probable cause for like third-party information. So that's another case that's there. And then they have gerrymandering, and these are just a few of the cases that are on for this session for the Supreme Court. So very, very momentous occasion as far as our country's history, as far as the field of criminal justice. So I would definitely encourage you to keep an ear out for those cases and see, how this is all going to pan out, because if you're looking at studying and going into criminal justice, these are things you want to stay abreast of. And what else do I want to highlight? Let me do a real quick overview here. I've sent several emails to a number of you if you were missing assignments or had not completed assignments. Today is it. If at this point, if you have not contacted me, have not responded to any of my emails, and you are below 50%, I am submitting a course drop today. I'm giving you as long as I can give you, but I am also here to help you in any way I can to help you re-register for the class or get signed up. We have second 8-week classes that you are eligible or ready to sign up for if you want to wait and go in the spring term. So I think that's it. I'm just trying to go over it. I didn't receive any a lot of questions that I need to really address in the class. I'm looking through here to see. I think that's pretty much it. So again, we're currently on module 6. It's open. You may start working on it, and you select if you would like to do your final exam or final presentation. You select your country. I'll put a list of countries up there for you to select from. So feel free to give me a call or email or stop by the office if you have any questions, and have a happy Monday. Talk to you guys soon.